Morning, it's Patsy. I've come on today to do a VR to Conjurer's Table, who is got a hashtag My Tarot Journey. So I thought I'd do a VR to that. Um, First question, there's 12 questions, I think. Yeah, 12 questions, all about your tarot journey. So the first question is, what inspired you to learn tarot? Now, um, I was never really inspired to read it at all. It just kind of happened. Um, as I said previously in a previous VR to Simon about my first tarot deck, I'd just gone into my local metaphysical shop in town, in the city, and I'd gone in there to get some more Native American figurines, what I was collecting at the time, and I saw a tarot deck, the Rider Waite. I picked it up. Don't know why I picked it up, but I picked it up, and then I went on to learn how to read the tarot. Um, but there was no really inspiration or anything. Do you know what I mean? It was just one of those things that happened out of the blue, kind of thing. Because before then, I had really no um, idea about tarot or anything like that. So it was just one of those things. I was in the shop. I picked them up, and they intrigued me. So I went to the library, bought some books, and started to learn how to read them. So that is um, since 1990, early 1990s. So that's a long time ago. But yeah, so that's question one. Question two, my favourite tarot deck. Now I've got too many tarot decks, if you can have such a thing as too many tarot decks. But one that has been my firm favourite from the time I got it, and which is one that I go to mainly for myself. I don't always read it for everyone else, but one that I read for myself. I mean, I was torn between this one and the Joy de Vivre, because I love the Joy de Vivre too. But I went with, it's a bit dark today, I don't know if you can, I went with Tarot of the Hidden Realm. So I absolutely love this deck. I'd seen it and on Kelly Truth and Story, and I loved the look of it then, but I didn't know if I'd ever be able to read with it, because it's based very much on the images of the people and their expressions, etc. But when I got it, I just loved it. It's so easy to read with. Oh, it's really dark. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. There ain't much sunlight today, so everything's a bit dark. But yeah, so this is my all-time favourite deck. The Joy de Vivre probably comes a close second, because I do love that deck too. But it's just the image on these one, the imagery, I absolutely love them. I could sit and look at these all day and I wouldn't get bored of looking. So that is my favourite tarot deck. My question three is, what have you learned most about tarot? I think that I've learned most is that you don't have to be a stickler for the meanings, if you know what I mean, because when I first learned tarot, and you get all these books in the libraries, and you get all these meanings for this card means this card means this, and if this card is with this means this, etc., etc. But you can't, you can't read tarot by sticking with those meanings for every reading. That you have to allow your intuition to come in and to sort of give you the meaning of that particular reading. I know for the first couple of years I was learning tarot, I was a stickler for keeping to the same meaning, and just didn't make sense to me. It was like, that don't make sense, that's not what I asked it. And it comes later, after you've been learning a while, that you realise, that there is meanings for each card, but it's not set in stone. You can add your own intuition to it. Each deck is different with different images, so that will very often make a different message than what one, two decks of two different images. You can get something probably more from one image than you can the other, if that makes sense. So I kind of learned that with tarot, it is not just about knowing the card meanings, but it's also about going with your intuition and listening to your intuition, and the images on each deck speak to you as well. So that's probably what I learned. The most recent deck purchased off a walkthrough you watched. Well, the most recent deck that I bought, recent tarot deck I bought was the Llewellyn Tarot, and that was based on a walkthrough that I saw. I don't even think it was a walkthrough. Well, it could have been, but it was Kelly at Truth and Story again. She was talking about this deck because I think it was her first deck, and she loved it and she used it and she showed it a lot, and I loved it. But I've only just recently got it, even though I saw that probably last year when she was showing, how she used to use it all the time, etc. So a lot of my decks do come from watching Kelly at the Truth in Story, I must admit, because she does such a great review and great job of doing walkthroughs. But yeah, that was my last tarot, the Llewellyn, and I know that I saw that on Kelly's channel. And like I said, most of my decks come from watching Kelly's channel. So yeah, so that was my most recent deck based on a walkthrough. Number 5 is first tarot channel that you watched. Again, that was Kelly at Truth and Story, followed closely by Simon at the Hermit's Cave. They was very much both together, I believe, if I remember rightly, and then from there onwards it sort of clicked on to other people's. But it was definitely Kelly's Truth and Story, and Simon at the Hermit's Cave was the first two, and I'm not quite sure which one came first, but I do believe it was Kelly. Do you practice other forms of divination? Yes, I use oracle cards. I use that's where my head's gone. I use oracle cards. I use charms. I do charm reading. I do spirit readings, mediumship. What other ones do I do? I think that's probably about it. I'd love to do palm reading, and I do have pendulums, but I don't use them an awful lot. Sometimes I'll get them out, but I'm not 100% about pendulums, I must admit. But I do mainly oracle and mainly the tarot. They're my two main divination. I'm just starting to bring the mediumship into it, and I also like to use the charms, and I have got some witches runes too, which I do like to use those too sometimes as well. I did have a full set of runes, but it was another completely different learning system. And at the time that's another one I do, Lenormand and the Kipper cards. So I was learning those two at the time. So I didn't, but I might be my next venture is to go in to get a full set of runes again and try to do the some more learning with of the runes. But at the minute it's the witches runes that I use a lot, and like I said, so yeah, it's oracle cards as well as tarot, the Lenormand, the Kipper, and casting, charms, and mediumship. They're the main ones that I'm using. So number 7, do you read more intuitively or by the book? I think I kind of answered that. I do keep in mind the particular meaning of the card, but I allow my intuition to play a huge part in my readings, and I have found that since I've done that, that the readings are more accurate, more meaningful, and I can get a lot more out of the spread than if I just stuck to the original card meanings. So even though I always keep the original card meaning, and it very often will incorporate into the intuition, I do read mainly intuitively, I guess. But like I said, I always keep in mind that the main meaning. So the main meaning. So I suppose that is a bit of both. I suppose I do a bit of both, but it probably is more on the intuitive side. Let's have a look. Question 8, top 3 tarot books. Top 3 favourite tarot books. Well, I'm not a huge one for tarot books. It's only recently that I started buying them, and even now I don't even think I've got 3 tarot books, to be fair. I do want to get the Venable, the Holistic Tarot, I do want to get that. I still haven't got round to getting that, but I do want that. But at the minute I can't read anyway, so it was, I'm not in no rush to buy it. And then I've got one on spreads that I haven't really looked at because I tend to do my own spreads and stick to. You can get so much out of 3 or 6 or 9 card spreads. So, but that is a book that I got because I did want to try different spreads, just to put on YouTube. But again, with my eyes, I've not been able really to do too much of anything at the minute, so I haven't really looked into it. And I think they're mainly the 2 tarot book, the tarot book that I have here. Oh, I have the Healing Hearts tarot book as well, which is all about using the tarot as a healing, do readings and healing the body, mind, body and soul sort of thing. So I have that, and I did start that, and that was really interesting. But apart from that, I don't really do tarot books. Number 9, favourite oracle deck. So my favourite oracle deck, I had to think about this because I've got a load of oracles. I've probably got more oracles than I have tarot actually, and I've gave loads and loads of oracles away as well. But there's just something about oracles, you can just, I add them to readings, tarot readings. I can read with them by themselves, and I like to just get one card and then get a hit for the day from one card. So I gave it a good thought, thinking, and couldn't really work out which one is my favourite. But in the end, I went with one which I really love for myself, but I can also do full readings with this like I could a tarot. And it's the Tao Oracle by Madiva Padme. I can't get it out of the box. This is another one I saw on Kelly's channel last year, and I've had this a few months now. Huge book you get with this, and then the cards. There is a system to this, or you can just use them as oracles. I use them as oracles. I use them as oracles, but I also take in the symbols of the symbols what are on the side there. You can do it by I Ching as well. I tried that, but I find they work just as well for me, taking in the symbols of the elements as well as the images and the keywords that are on the bottom of the cards. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. I absolutely adore this deck. The card stock is amazing. The card stock is really lovely. They feel really, really nice. And I get some really good readings from this. Sometimes they're readings that I don't want to get because they are quite straight to the point. There's a lot of dark and light in them, so it's very mixed. But there is such a good deck. It's such a good deck to read with. Like I said, I can actually do a full tarot reading style reading with these cards if I wanted to, and they work just as well as 1 card, 3 cards, or big spreads. So this is my favourite oracle cards. I absolutely adore this deck, and I don't pull it out enough. I really should leave this on my altar because it is just a joy to work with. So even though I'm going to put it back in the box now, that will be one that's going to be coming out and staying on. Oh, it's got 64 cards, so it's a good size oracle. So yeah, so that's my favourite oracle deck that I have of all time. Now I've got to bring the questions back up because it's on my phone and it's disappeared. There we go. So, which tarot card do you resonate most with? Okay, so the card that I probably resonate most with is the 8 of Swords. Now I've chose the 8 of Swords because that card stalks me it stalked me for most of last year, and I learned a lot about that card, and I saw myself a lot in that card. So I really resonate with that card now, and when it comes up I then start questioning myself, how am I getting myself back into this situation again. So yeah, the 8 of Swords is just one of those cards that speaks volumes to me now after it stalked me so long, and it's become one of those cards that I absolutely love now because it just followed me around for so many months and taught me so much. So it'd be the 8 of Swords. What's your best advice to give someone starting to learn the tarot. So the first thing that I would say is find a deck that talks to you. Um, Find a deck that you like the imagery, but one that is really clear. And you know, a lot of people start with the Rider-Waite system because it is such a clear system. And you don't have to. I mean, I like the Rider-Waite system, but I'm not a huge fan of the artwork in the Rider-Waite original cards. So my favourite Rider-Waite style deck is probably one that I got quite recently, the Anna Kay. That is very clear but very Rider-Waite. So I'd get one that's got good clear images. But go through the deck before you even pick up a book. Just go through the deck and look what sort of stands out from that card for you. And you know, with the majors, lay them all out in a row and just follow the Fool's journey, you know, through the majors, and just see what you get intuitively from each card. You'll be surprised, you know, what you get intuitively to what the actual meanings is. And once that, you know, write down for each card, you know, what you think, you know, with the Fool, you know, what you think sticks out to you and what you think that could mean, and so on through the majors to start with. And then go to a book and just sort of look at what they say and what you're getting from it, and you'll find very often it's very similar, if not the same, or you probably saw something what fits, but and comes under what some of the things that they say. And sometimes you can look at them and go, oh yeah, I didn't see that, and then you know that you can add that to. But always go with your intuitive thoughts about those cards first, because every time you pull a card, automatically it's going to be what comes into your head first, sort of thing, you know, from seeing that image. So that would be my tip. I did it the other way round, and it took me a good couple of years to get my head around it. So I'd say buy a deck that talks to you, what is very clear to read, what is easy to read, and then just go through the cards and write down what you get from each card. Then look it up in a book or the little manual what comes with it or whatever, and write down what they say, and just go from there. But just pick it up and play with it. Just pick it up and play with it. That is my main. Don't be scared of using it until you know all the meanings. Just go with your intuition and just use it. The more you do that, the more you'll get used to it. So the last question, what is your next step in your tarot journey? So my next step is incorporating the cards with spirit readings and past life readings. I've just started doing this and I'm getting some great results from both past lives readings and the spirit readings. So I'm excited to kind of dig deeper into both of those spreads and types of readings for people with the tarot cards. So that is my way forward. As for my channel on YouTube, I don't really know. I was considering whether I would close that down or not, because I'm not sure I have anything really to offer what isn't already out there and done so much better than what I can do, and especially with my eyes playing up just lately, that I just can't do too much, and I'm struggling to sort of do anything what involves a lot of concentration. I mean, I can do things like this, but anything where there's a lot of concentration readings and all that sort of thing, I'm just not able to do. And I don't know whether the YouTube community is needing another person like me, if you like. I don't think I'll really offer anything in the scheme of things, and whereas most channels grow, mine kind of diminishes. So I don't think I'm really offering anything. So I am considering at the minute whether or not to continue with the actual channel, or whether just to go back to how I was before and be my little hermit self and do it by myself. I mean, I did join YouTube to kind of be part of a community that tarot was so important, because I don't have that in real life, everyday life. I don't mix with people who, you know, or even know anybody except my daughter who does card readings and all that kind of stuff, that I'm interested. So this was the reason why I sort of joined the Facebook groups, and then started the YouTube channel. But I'm really now considering whether I really have anything to offer, um, and whether just to sort of close the channel down. So this I'm not 100% sure about, and it is something I'm thinking about. But we will see once my eyes are starting to improve a little bit, whether or not I can offer anything that anybody's really interested in hearing, or whether I'm just better off to be my hermit little self and go back to doing it by myself. So there you go. So that is my plans for my tarot future, and it's lovely to answer these questions, Matty. I do love your channel, and you're so much fun. And when I saw you doing this, I thought, yeah, I'll give that a go, and do a VR to you. So there we go. That is my tarot journey. And if you've done it, I'll try and find them on YouTube and watch them as well. But if not, and you want to give it a go, it's hashtag my tarot journey, and it's a VR to Conjurer's Table. Thanks for watching. Bye.